I don't have a problem with Billie Piper coming back personally. People are mad about the nostalgia of all of it, but I don't think RTD is trying to say the show can only survive on nostalgia. Yeah, you know what? He did do a lot of nostalgia with the 60th, but to be perfectly honest, I think he had a story that was interesting. And yeah, I mean, I think he did this out of necessity. You know, his lead left on relatively short notice, but also Chudy Gatwa, you can't blame him. He tried to stay as long as he could, but like if he doesn't know if there's going to be another series, what is he supposed to do? You know, he is a gay black man who's getting a lot of attention right now. He needs to take hold of that momentum now, right now, okay? And I think he tried to hold out as much as he could, but he just couldn't anymore. And in my opinion, like RTD had to do something with that. He couldn't just bring in a new doctor. He can't do that at the last minute. You know, and maybe he could have left on an open ending. Maybe he could have left an open ended regeneration, like a lot of people are suggesting. But at the exact same time, I think it looks bad when you're trying to ask Disney to fund the show for another series when you can't even commit to a new lead. If you don't have a new lead, does it look like you have faith in the show? So then, like, he asked a friend who's willing to do it at last minute, and then that came to Billie Piper. You know, maybe he could have asked some other friend to do it at the last minute, I guess. And maybe some part of that was based on nostalgia, but I think a lot of it was just based on what is he supposed to do at the last minute, you know? And to be perfectly honest, like, sometimes you don't get choices, and sometimes some ideas don't look great, I guess. But to be honest, like, I don't really care if I get a new doctor or not. I don't look at a new doctor and think, "Ooh, wow, this is a new era." I don't care. Okay? I don't have any feelings about a new doctor because I need to see the doctor to have feelings about that doctor. You know, I don't have any feelings about leaving or not. Personally, I want ITD to stay because I just like the guy. But like, ooh, I want a new fresh take on the era. That could mean anything. All right, a new fresh take on the show. But what does that mean? Okay, I think right now what I just want is there is something missing in the show, but at the same time, I think the problem is the show had the time war initially, but then it couldn't keep the time war indefinitely. It's been going on for 20 years now. Eventually, it had to come on and come up with a new idea. So then Moffat tried to bring back the search for Gallifrey, and then Chibnall came around and Chibnall. I'm not clear what his exact vision was, but also I don't hate him or anything. I don't think he's a bad writer. I think yeah, but like I feel like after the Time War, there's not this feeling of impetus. You know, people want to talk about stakes in terms of killing off a character. I don't think killing off a character is the sort of stakes we need. I think we need a driving idea here. You know, like the Time War and the Doctor trying to pick up the pieces and trying to hold the universe together by strength of will. That was a big thing originally, but now we need something else. That is what I think is missing. You know, but like this idea that Billie Piper coming back, I don't think it's the problem now. I don't think nostalgia is the problem. I do think it's a problem that RTD decided he was going to try to make Susan half human. The whole thing with Sutek, that was a different problem. That Sutek finale was a problem because he did not commit to it. That should have been a whole season unto itself. You know? I think the explanation of Sutek becoming God is fine. I'm just fine with it. You know, that's a great idea. I love the idea. but also don't condense it to one episode. But the problem with this second season finale now is that he can't commit to one idea, and then the one idea he might have committed to was making Susan half human. But then he has to create this whole monologue to make us care about it. I don't care about it. I don't want it. I don't want Susan to be half human. I think Susan being the doctor's daughter, it's a great way to tie back to the doctor's origins. I think it's a great way to show that this guy was a father, then a grandfather, and now he's nothing. If that was in RTD1, I think that's beautiful. Like, I think so far there's been a pattern in this show. You've had the ninth Doctor, who wasn't some big warrior. He was just some guy with PTSD. He was just trying to learn how to recover. Then you had the 10th Doctor, who found love and was on the road to recovery. Then you saw the 11th Doctor, who was in denial and was just running from everything. Then you had the 12th Doctor, who was in this permanent state of grief. And then you had the 13th Doctor, who was finally starting to get past it. And then you had the 14th Doctor, who, in my opinion, was the Doctor trying to forgive himself. The Doctor went back to that face because he wanted to fix the one mistake he couldn't forgive himself over. Donna. Donna's not dead. He can fix that problem any damn time he wants. But he didn't. And I think that's the problem. You know? And I think that's why he went back to that face. And I think with the 15th Doctor, you saw that he's more human than ever. You know? Like, this Doctor's shift into humanity is the Doctor trying to forgive themselves. You know? And I just think Susan is a good part of that. But also trying to make this huge alien thing, trying to make Susan disjoint from his life, trying to get rid of her having a mother that the Doctor raised. I just something about this tries to make the Doctor into a mystery. It makes Susan into a mystery when they don't need to be. Okay? They were interesting enough on their own. Susan should come back to help the Doctor complete this journey of finding his humanity, of learning to forgive himself. That's what I think. That's my problem with that. But also just the Doctor needs a new mission, and the show does need a new direction, but I don't think it needs a new direction in the sense of a showrunner. I think it just needs some new big arc or something. Something that you actually give the Doctor to do. I think it would be interesting if the Master came back and then told the Doctor, I saw the Matrix. Gallifrey still exists, and they told me that humanity is going to become evil. You did something, Doctor, and now humanity is going to become something worse than the Daleks. So either I kill them, you kill them, or you find a way to solve this in the next year, or I will kill them. I think that would be interesting. Or alternatively, if Romana came back and said the same thing, Doctor, something has changed with humanity, so I'm giving you 1 year to fix this, or I will kill them. But then we find out that it's more complicated than that. We find out that Romana is not the Lord President. Susan is the Lord President. After all the weird things that have happened during Gallifrey, the Time Lords had to leave Gallifrey because Gallifrey can no longer anchor the thread. It can no longer hold causality in place. I'm sorry, I'm going to need you to Google the anchoring of the thread in order to understand this. But Gallifrey can't be Gallifrey anymore. It keeps getting destroyed. It's unstable. So the Time Lords, if they want to keep time stable, they have to move to Earth. because Earth is the only place that's stable after the Doctor is saving it so often. The Doctor's relationship to Earth makes it the most stable place in the universe, so then they move to Earth. But since they move to Earth, they need someone also connected to Earth, so then they make Susan Lord President, because the Lord President has to anchor time to Gallifrey, to the new Gallifrey. And Susan is the only one who's connected. I'm not trying to say Susan's half human or anything, but she is connected, more connected to Earth than any other Time Lord besides the Doctor. So then they make her Lord President to anchor it. But then this displaces Romana. And Romana's just fine with it until Romana finds out about humanity becoming a threat. And since Romana isn't connected to humanity like Susan is, she decides that she needs to do something. So now Romana's going rogue and threatening the Doctor, and she's creating a civil war on Earth. And then maybe you can bring back Leela and Ace and everything. Or not. Maybe I'm being an idiot. But it's just, I think that would be an interesting idea. Alternatively, what if you brought back Omega? And Omega was just like, okay, you know what? I've seen the Time War, and it scared me, Doctor. I'm done being evil. I want to do something to stop Rassilon because I've seen him. I can feel it. He's out there, and I want to work with you to stop him. I think it would be interesting if the Doctor is in this situation where he has to figure out if he trusts Omega and if he wants to bring back the Time Lords. If he thinks Omega's strength can create a new Time Lord civilization and a new Time Lords that can take the Waynes back. Maybe the Doctor is like, okay, I want to protect the universe, but it would be nice if there was someone helping me, and maybe I just want my people back. Like, that was an element of the reality war. I can't defend the reality war as a whole, but I think one thing that I loved, though, is that they made it clear that the Doctor kind of wanted the Time Lords to come back. I liked that. Anyway, I think nostalgia isn't a bad thing. Nostalgia can work, but making Susan half human, that just wasn't the way to do it. Like, the reality war just wasn't the way to do it. That said, Billie Piper herself, I don't think that's a problem, and I think she can do it. And I'd like to see how that works, because to be honest, I wouldn't mind another female Doctor. Wouldn't mind having a black female Doctor, but that's a question for another day. So yeah.